Hi, I'm Christine Dean. I'm your DFW networking diva, and I love to connect people. And I like to connect them to other people, to events, to products, to just things that are going to enhance your life. And when I came across Go Culture, I said, oh my goodness, this is what needs to be out there. This is perfect timing. This is the time. And there's nothing better out there on the market than Go Culture. So I am so excited today that we have Al Dennis, Vice President of Go Culture, Vice President of Sales. And so he's going to talk a little bit about the product today. And we have Andrew Bruzy, who is one of the users of the product and a huge advocate. So we're so excited to have both of them talking with us today. So Al, talk to us. Tell us a little bit about this product.
Well, how about I tell you a little bit about myself?
We could do that too.
I think that has a lot to do with why I'm with Go Culture and why Go Culture is in my heart. Pretty simple. I don't know if you can find a more diverse individual with two silly immigrant parents from Korea and coming to Staten Island, New York, and I've got 4 kiddos, and they're all unique in and of themselves. And so I've administered some diversity training. That's what I've done in my career. I work for iconic companies like the Hershey Company, and I picked up a lot of things. I saw a lot of things. I saw some pain. I saw some pain points. I saw some loss. I saw some missing of opportunity. And in that, I'm with Go Culture, and there's a great solution. And we'll speak on that. Andrew?
One of the reasons why I wanted to chat with you guys today and why I was excited for the conversation is just like the history of it. So again, my name is Andrew Bruzy. I lead Vendium Global, which is an HR consultancy firm that helps organizations use technology to better their workforce. So in some cases, it could be conversational AI, and some other ones, it's process improvement or using technologies like in learning and development. So my background was actually in mobility, so global mobility, which right now with everything happening with COVID, you can imagine that the mobility industry is taking a bit of a hit. But one of the uses that we've had the original flagship Go Culture product on that has been improved upon, that I first was a customer of and then started implementing it with our clients, is that it was, and it currently still is, the industry leader of intercultural training. And we're having really good conversations about that, of what do we actually mean when we talk about intercultural training, because it's such a grand topic that it's hard to pinpoint what our goal is. And ultimately, it's just how to connect people, how to remove the barriers between people. And often in the mobility space, obviously, it's because somebody's moving somewhere. They're going to a new country, a new culture. And beforehand, they can understand what they're going to be experiencing is different. So when you know that you're going to be experiencing something different, then you can kind of prepare yourself. But the cool thing about the upgraded and enhanced version of Go Culture, which is the global citizenship program that we're chatting about, that is the improvement upon the origination flagship product that brings people through an assessment, trains them how humans learn the best. And then after they go through the training, they have accountability metrics through the journaling, and they can take a post-assessment to really drive metrics. And driving metrics of soft skills is so difficult in HR or mobility or in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So as soon as I heard about the launch of the global citizenship program specific around diversity, equity, and inclusion, I was really excited.
Well, and Andrew, you brought up a good point. You talk about how we're planning going somewhere else, and we know the culture is going to be different. You're going on vacation, you're going to go to Europe, you're going wherever it is that you're going someplace, and you know people are going to be different. But then we forget that people are different here, right where we are. So we assume that we know our own culture, except in America, it is so extremely diverse here. There's little subcultures everywhere, and everybody's blending together. So we can't even assume that we know our own culture anymore. So we need this not only for people that are planning on going abroad, but for people just to interact successfully here in our own country. I mean, that's a whole new level. I don't know with your experience, Al, with diversity and different diversity trainings, I don't know what you see out of this program as being more helpful.
It makes me smile. I mean, yeah, altogether, we do want to understand more of each other. However, the problem is we make assumptions. And so by making these assumptions, we're creating liability. We're creating risk because assumptions cause dissonance. And we need to seek first to understand. I think it was Covey who said that. But if we do that, and it's been proven at a 93% efficacy rate, we know that we can close that gap. If that opportunity exists, how could we turn our back on it? And that opportunity is Go culture.
Mm-hmm. No, that's spot on. And actually, when you brought up an interesting point of assumptions that we have with people, so kind of a funny personal anecdote is my business partner is an attorney, and he also happens to be a military officer. And depending on the setting, whatever he introduces himself as, you can tell how people react. They're like, oh, an attorney. It's like, oh, I'm a politician, or I'm an actor, or I'm an author. There's so much baggage that goes along with a title or with an assumption. And that was the great thing. And Christine, you brought up a fantastic point of how people are different, even though that they may live very close to each other. And originally, when we're doing intercultural training with the Go Culture product, which was phenomenally successful, a great example is that expat assignments will generally have a 40 to 60% failure rate. That is catastrophic when the average cost of an expat assignment is about $1 million. But now what we're looking at is a conflict between human beings that might be next door neighbors. That's why it's so timely for the release of this product, to help people that are neighbors, that are teammates, that are within the same organization, to work together more impactfully. And Christine, you know this firsthand, being a former instructor of these classes, that the antiquated way of teaching is fly out a consultant, and I am a consultant, so this is often what happens even in my business, but fly out a consultant, put them up in a hotel, cover their meals, pay their hourly rate, and they will talk to the amphitheater room that you reserved for the hour. After that, they'll forget it, and they won't actually have any actionable steps. So the reason why the Go Culture product is so successful with my clients is that since it's computer-based and you can send it to literally every single employee and it's cost-effective enough to do so, then they can go through the assessment to see where they are. Something funny was mentioned again, your intercultural background, Christine. So my background, I've an undergrad in international business, and I've been in mobility for years. So I've given intercultural trainings. I've received many of them. And I scored, I think it was an 84 on there. And I was so embarrassed because why did I not score 100%? I needed to score 100%. And I almost was like, oh, this thing's broken. But the great thing was, in what Al's mentioning of the Chromback Alpha score of 93, that is an academically proven reliability score that we can actually use as a metric to know, hey, this is working. This isn't something subjective. This isn't something that some people threw together in their basement. This is the culmination of decades of PhD level research. So after you take that assessment, and then have the trainings that are based on how you learn, how people learn and how they retain is essential in making sure that this is an impactful product. Couple that with metrics, then you know that they've actually improved. I think that's so important, especially when I mentioned before of the soft skill development that we have.
Well, and like you mentioned, soft skills, right?
Soft skills. Those two words, being able to be quantified now is just, it's groundbreaking. So with that, what do we do with it? I don't want to get carried away, but we've got an opportunity. I was thinking of this anecdote. I live in McKinney, Texas, and my neighbor, he's Caucasian, and I'm African American, obviously. We, for 2 years, did not interact. Come to find out, just a month ago, we met, and he had this thought and this thought. And I myself had some assumptions. And now we're working together. As a matter of fact, as an ex-amateur boxer, we're training, and I'm out of shape. So it's helping me. I'm learning, we're sharing, I'm getting his perspective, he's getting my perspective. That's a human example, but to me, I like to keep it simple. That's what it's all about. Now, we would not have connected were we not to find out what those assumptions were. That's what Go Culture does, and it's measurable, and it holds the user accountable. To Christine's point, and Andrew, you've done it a million times. When you're going out, when I've gone out and I've administered a training, actually at times I felt bad on the plane ride home, because I'm thinking, Yeah, I was in a hotel, I had a great dinner, and, I may have delivered a decent speech, probably not, but there's not going to be any sustainable change.
Right. What did they get out of it? And that's huge. That's the huge part about Go culture. Like Andrew, like you talked about the learning styles. This is from teacher's heart. I'm like, oh, yes, you're singing my language, right? Because we all learn differently, and it isn't until we get past the fear of differences that we can embrace that diversity. Like Al said, being able to talk to your neighbor and being able to bring that in. So everybody's real people. You become real people. And when you can get past that barrier of fear of differences and embrace those differences, you never know what things you might actually have in common. And that
Well,
creating that kind of culture is huge. Hence,
it's not natural. I mean, the natural thing to do is to lean to comfort. So the comfortable thing to do is to stay with a sphere of the known. You don't want to venture into the unknown. That's why we say people are afraid of change, or people want to be with like-minded people, like a family, like a tribe. But when it turns into negative tribalism, professional tribalism, then that's where you start losing millions of dollars. And I've seen it. So it resonates with me on so many different levels. And so if I ramble, I apologize, but I believe that we are at a moment in history, and Go culture is the number one solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, Al, I think you just accidentally came across something fascinating too, and I was just thinking about what you were mentioning with your neighbor. So
Blind
there are a lot of assumptions that you can make with your neighborhood of where you actually live. So you live in the same geographic area, you shop the same stores, you likely do a lot of the same things. You just mentioned that you're working out together. We actually just recently put out a video where it was kind of fun. We had our bots have a conversation with each other about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one of the things that they were talking about is that what's our goal with diversity, right? Like, when are we looking just to have a workforce where we look across and see a bunch of people that look differently? Probably not, because those people, just because they may look differently doesn't mean that they think differently. And if they look differently and do have a different background, then what are we trying to draw out of them? And for what we were discussing in that video was that value of diversity comes when you are looking at different pillars, that people are bringing different things to the table and that they're comfortable to share them. They're comfortable because they are feeling internally adaptable and validated in order to share their ideas and to share their actions. And then the organization can realize some very real impacts of this, where Forbes reported that organizations can see up to a 24% higher revenue growth just because they effectively, and I'll underline effectively there, use diversity. So for HR interactions, our HR clients, whether or not they be in the relocation space or as HR generalists within a corporate environment, they will realize, and they do realize, the value of having an adaptable individual that's comfortable with where they are. And then there's the team building aspect of the Go Culture solution, that they're able to compare against their team members to create a little bit of fun between it. And every ranking has a circle. The circle will show both their score with the score on the inside, and then it shows the institutional score. So they know that, hey, this is where my team or organization is ranking, and this is where I am. And that can be a bit of a motivator, a friendly push to say, I need to focus in on this factor. And each factor has its own training section, where when I first saw the demo videos that were coming out of the global citizenship solution, I was so excited, because what they are is a story. It's a story coming from an individual sharing something that they have experienced. So what happens when we hear someone tell us a story of their experiences? We want to share. It also has Dr. Velton in sharing his expert guidance of what to do to address it. So actionable steps for each lesson. So you have, I feel like I'm understood. I feel like I'm heard. I'm hearing that somebody else has had something potentially similar, maybe worse, maybe not. Everyone has their own internal scars. But then the expert guidance of where to take it from there, I think, is so impactful.
That really leads back to what Al was talking about earlier about when you've done the training in person and he's done the sales training and he's gone in and done training, and are they working with the material? Are they learning with it? Or is it just, I attended this one day, I'm done, I'm out of here? How is that changing their lives? And that's really where the Go culture comes into play, I think, because it has that potential to really change lives and learn and work with the material.
Yeah, I'm a little biased, but it's not potential. It literally changes lives. And if I may ask you a question, Christine, if you were playing a game of Trivial Pursuit and it was you and one partner versus another team of two, and you got to choose your partner, would you want your partner to be more similar to you or more different than you are?
Right? Because if you want to have the most opportunities for success, you need to have other perspectives. You want to choose that person that is not like you at all, because you want them to know the answers that you don't know. So, it makes sense. It just makes sense.
It just makes sense, and it's the right thing to do. So in this case, doing the right thing enables you to affect the bottom line, and that's why I'm with Go Culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually recently having a fairly, let's say, philosophical conversation about when we look at our careers and we look at the impact that we have over our careers. I think impact is a very common term being used now. Of people want to make an impact. That's why they work at certain organizations. That's why they live in certain areas. That's why they pick certain career paths. And being able to be most impactful as an individual is essential. From a business leader standpoint, when I first saw Go Culture as an intercultural training tool and realizing the potential that it has, not just in the intercultural space, because what we're finding is that, yes, it works very effectively interculturally training, but it also affects personal adaptability. We're not training someone on how to go to a certain location. We're training people how to connect well. And one day, if I'm 90 years old and looking back at my career and looking at the initiatives that I launched, we've done some really cool things with Vendium. So in the conversational AI space and robotic process automation, VR, AR. But if you can actually make an impact on how humans interact, especially in the workforce, they take those lessons home. They teach those lessons to their children. It will make a more cohesive world, which I actually thought the global citizenship title was fantastic, because that's what it is. It's teaching people that, hey, we are all in this together. Let's interact together. I'm not looking at you as an outsider. A value that we have with Vendium is tribe, and it's specifically because we refer to the enemies always outside of the gate. The enemy is not inside of the gate. Do not fight with each other. There's no value of that. And they are there to have your back. What we need to do more of is help our team members understand that their team members have their back as well, and that they feel comfortable supporting everyone in that workforce and in that stream.
And Andrew, you just hit on a great point there about the idea of the culture of the environment in the workplace. Is it an inclusive? What are we talking about here? And it's too easy to say that's not my problem, what's going on over in that group, or I'm not part of that group. We're all part of the same culture, right?
Yes.
So you're trying to create that culture of productivity and people being able to work together and feel valued. More valued employees always more eager to come to work. They're happier, they do their work, and everybody's getting along fantastic. That's what we want, right?
What we want. It goes across all spectrums. Think about sports. I'm a Cowboy fan. I apologize early, but if the team has a cancer, the team's affected adversely, and they don't. And we've seen it time and time again. That's the same thing as within an organization or within a team, on a business team. And one of the concepts that I picked up when sharing with Andrew is, the more and more I think about it, and we think about, what is at stake, we want to ask the question, what's the alternative? And I guess I will ask you, Andrew, what's the alternative?
That's phenomenal. I've mentioned in the past how impactful of a statement that is, because it really makes you think of, realistically, what is the alternative? What are we trying to do with our people programs? What are we trying to do with our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives? Are we looking to go ahead and check a box? Or are we looking to go ahead and make a fundamental change in the human being so then they can help and obviously drive the dollars and cents afterwards? So there's both the ethical and financial aspect of it. And the alternative, realistically, is what I just mentioned from the Forbes reporting, would be reduced revenue growth and reduced human interaction and reduced human cohesion. What happens at that point? Attrition goes up. When your attrition goes up, you need to pay for recruiting, hire the mobility people to move your people in there, and then you have a culture of uncertainty and kind of a bit destabilized. We appreciate and we connect with the people that we work with because they become our family, they become our tribe, they become part of us. It's a great example is whenever you meet someone for the first time, one of the first questions that you'll ask them is, what do you do? That is because first, the frame that goes along with that of, I'm a doctor. Oh, cool. So I now know these things about you. I'm a police officer. I know these things about you. But when you identify yourself with your profession, you're also identifying yourself with your coworkers. If you have a destabilizing working environment or something where you may feel uncertain, in many cases, it may be the person that doesn't actually speak up that is feeling uncomfortable with where they're working. They may just be the quiet one in the corner that does their work and goes home. But what's their potential? You hire correctly, you hire rock stars in order to get the highest potential out of them, and that they can get the highest potential from you, so then you can retain that talent and use it for years to come. Institutional knowledge is never something that should be taken for granted, and you get institutional knowledge from longevity of the employee.
Like you said, the longer they can, the better they can get along, right? The better and more productive the teams and working together. So it's all just going to end up being a win-win in so many different levels, whether it's at work, whether it's at home. This Go culture has the opportunity to just really make changes. And I believe we have a launch coming soon, don't we?
We do. Pretty excited. I'm not going to give away specific launch date during this conversation, but I'm excited. I mean, I can tell you that it's ready now. That's something to be excited about. I do not believe, and again, here's me being over dramatic again, but this is my core. I don't think there's anything that I could be associated with that has the potential to make the type of change across such a broad spectrum and be so far reaching. This is something that is exciting. It's fun, and it will make people literally smile more, and it will improve the quality of life at work, at home, and it will eliminate pain, because we talked about the scars. I know some people that have scars, close individuals, and they're real scars. Go Culture is here to change that, and I'm excited.
So if we want a sneak peek soon of the demo and that kind of stuff, we just reach out to you and you're going to show us all the cool, fancy stuff in this newest version?
Reach out to me at any time. I love to engage with anyone that, can simply see that there's no alternative.
Mm-hmm. I love that you put that, because even the alternative of competition versus alternative of what would happen otherwise, one of the reasons why I was excited to join this conversation is that it's first the right thing to do. Second, it is the effective thing to do. So it's not just this feels good, but this actually works. And then lastly is that there is the financial aspect of it and the measurable aspect of it, which obviously for any of our clients to know that I am a data freak. And so the metrics are so important, that to be able to break out, hey, what's my team doing? What are the individuals doing? There's an aspect of it that you can look in and give feedback on an individual. So Christine, you likely appreciate that as a teacher, to be able to give feedback of an individual, how they're doing in a certain area, and then see how they progress over the year. And that's what our clients most often use the product over, is that it's over for a year subscription, but they'll keep up with it because there's a journaling section, there's a podcast section. They could get more information from the tool. So it's not just hey, I took the 10-minute assessment and now I'm done. It's this is something I'm going to incorporate into my weekly schedule. and that I can actually set a time to make diversity, equity, and inclusion an important thing for me.
Exactly. Very well said, Andrew. Very well said.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you very much.
Well, no, I
No?
mean,
Okay, I'm
there
not going to say thank you.
there
I'm not.
was-
I'm just going to say you all suck and I'm out of here.
no. I love your sense of humor, but I've got to plug Dr. Justin Belton because he's not here, and Go Culture is unique in the research and development process. 7 years of R&D, ready to go, global competence. These PhDs decided, no, we're going to test the data for 13 more years. So when I look at that, I don't know where I've seen that before, but you know what? The results are there and the dedication has shown, and I'm grateful to be associated with Dr. Belton and Go Culture, obviously. I just know that this is going to change lives.
I was just going to say, so it was 20 years in the making for me getting a B. This is ridiculous. No, I'm just teasing.
There you go.
Thank you so much for sharing this, Al, and thank you, Christine, for hosting this chat. It was an honor to be included in on this. So I look forward to the launch and seeing what it actually looks like when we go live and supporting our clients with that solution.
This is going to be exciting. Thank you. Our guest here, and Al Dennis, our Vice President of Sales. We're expecting great things coming out of this launch. So this is going to be fun.
I'm not worried because Go Culture speaks for itself. I'm kind of along for the ride.
I think you're right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.